5 steps to help neurodivergent young adults build relationships is one of the last offerings of our spring semester of Connections California, which is PHP's one of our newest programs. It is an online resource and information hub filled with e-learning videos and e-packets of information and resources on everything involved in transition to adulthood for people with all kinds of disabilities, where we have live events like this one. In fact, I think we had 52 this semester, and we're looking to have about another 40 in the fall. I will put up a link to Connections California and to the spring program guide. As I said, we're almost to the end, but you can just see what was offered. Many of you might have been here before, and then look for the fall one to be up in August. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Santa Clara Family Health Plan for sponsoring Connections California. So I'd like to introduce our presenters this evening, Ilana Frank and Jeremy Hamburgh, who are friendship and dating coaches who help autistic young adults make friends, land dates, and experience the joy of having a girlfriend or boyfriend by giving them the strategy and the confidence they need to meet new people while remaining 100% genuine and true to themselves. So without further ado, I'm going to have Jeremy and Ilana share their screen. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Let's see if that worked. How's that look? Did we scroll from slide 1 to slide 2?
You did. We're all good.
Fantastic. Okay, so big thank you to Alyssa and to Maria and to the PHP family for inviting us to talk with all of you about a topic that's incredibly meaningful to us. A big thank you to the interpreters. This is the first time that we are being translated into Vietnamese. Last week we were introduced in Swedish, of which we don't speak a single word, so that was pretty cool. And we really appreciate our Spanish interpreter and our Vietnamese interpreters. Thank you for that. I am Jeremy Hamburgh. I'm the founder of My Best Social Life and the Social Life 360 program. Next to me is Ilana Frank, who is actually now technically Ilana Hamburgh, because we got civilly married last week, and we will get religiously married in a week and a half. She's our director of education at My Best Social Life, and we are friendship and dating coaches for autistic and neurodivergent adults. And we're really, really excited and honored to talk with all of you about how to help your son or your daughter be more socially successful, because meeting new people, making new friends, maybe even dating are so important when it comes to enjoying life. What we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes or so is an important how-to list for helping your son or daughter start building a social life that will make them truly happy. So we're going to cover how to help them use their passions and interests to find new people who have real potential to be a part of their life, how to help them stop getting tongue-tied and having their mind go blank when they're trying to start a conversation, because it is so frustrating when they overcome their fears and anxieties to start a conversation with someone new, but then it goes badly. We're also going to cover how to help them have deeper conversations that go beyond small talk, because that's the key to feeling a real connection and a genuine spark with wonderful people. And it's that feeling of connection that's going to bring new people into their life. And we're going to talk about how to help your son or daughter use their unique qualities, traits, even quirks to build their self-confidence. Because, one thing that Ilana and I have found to be true is that all the strategy in the world means absolutely nothing if your son or daughter doesn't have the confidence to go out and use it. So in short, this is all about how to help them be the most confident and courageous version of themselves so that they can make the most of their social opportunities and make new friends and maybe even start dating and build relationships. So that's what we're going to cover. Before I go too much further, let me take a moment to say a little bit more about ourselves. Do you want to?
Sure. I'm Ilana Frank, now Hamburgh, and I spent 16 years as a teacher in the New York City public school system, where I focused on empowering students with special needs to achieve their potential. Back in early 2021, when I was still Ilana Frank, Jeremy invited me to sit in on his weekly client community call, and I got to see something that I've truly never seen before. A group of autistic and neurodivergent adults getting together to celebrate their progress. And as Jeremy likes to say, I came, I fell in love, and now he can't get rid of me. So now I'm the director of education for the Socialize 360 program, and I truly love it because I get to spend my days thinking about how to decode the social world and then recode it in a way that makes sense to the neurodivergent brain, and using formulas, diagrams, and step-by-step processes. So that's my journey.
My journey is very different.
A little.
I'm the founder of My Best Social Life and Social Life 360 program, but I started my career as a lawyer. I spent 7 years as in-house counsel for JP Morgan Chase Bank, and 7 years before that as a criminal prosecutor in New York City, where I specialized in financial crimes. And it was around the time that I was finishing law school that I started a social group for Jewish young adults at my synagogue in Manhattan. And we'd get like 150, 200 people to our events. And my friends wanted to know, like, how was I walking into events by myself and walking out with new friends and even sometimes dates, because that's what they wanted for themselves. And my answer to them was, I have no idea. But they were quite persistent. So I spent the next 3 years learning what makes two people attracted to one another. And I combined that with the skills that I was developing as a young prosecutor. Because, like, after all, when you think about a courtroom lawyer, you think about like someone like Sam Waterston from, Law and Order, right? He projects confidence, he asks good questions, he tells good stories, is a good listener, right? Well, what I have found over the years is that winning over a jury of 12 people isn't that much different than winning over a jury of one person. Being a confident and engaging person is always magnetic, whether you're at a social event or whether you're in a courtroom. So I developed a really innovative workshop that combined social strategy and real-time feedback, and the JCC in Manhattan in New York agreed to host it. And it was so popular that, I got invited back again and again and again. But what I didn't know was that the JCC was also home to 3 special needs organizations, and their neurodivergent members were actually coming to my dating workshops. And they loved the workshops so much that the special needs organizations started inviting me to do workshops for them, which I did. And I spent 3 years as the in-house friendship and dating coach for the adaptations program at the Silver Center for Special Needs. And something really cool happened when I was at adaptations. My workshops there inspired an award-winning film. The movie was called Keep the Change. It featured 2 autistic actors who were in my dating program. Their names are David Polanski and Samantha Olisafon. And if you haven't seen the film, you should. It's a fictional story about David and Samantha meeting at an autism support group and starting a romantic relationship. It won Best Film at Tribeca Film Festival, which I think is really amazing. And I'm very proud that the first place it was screened was in my dating group. But looking back on that, because it was a long time ago, I think a big reason why the film was so groundbreaking was because nobody was talking about autistic people dating and finding love. The movie came out years before Love on the Spectrum or, shows like Atypical. And when the movie came out, single autistic people dating was a novelty, and I felt really strongly that it shouldn't be. So I dedicated my career to cracking the code to social success for people with autism and neurodivergent brains. And I knew that my approach needed to be different because what was being taught in the neurodivergent community just wasn't working for most people. So I am very proud to say that, Ilana and I run Social Life 360, and it is like nothing else on the planet. We give our clients a simple step-by-step strategy to be more social, make new friends, find their tribes, make real connections. And we do it in a way that matches how their brain works. So as Ilana said, we break down every skill in every social situation into formulas and diagrams and checklists, because that's how their brains work. And then we are by our client's side every step along the way. We're by their parents' side too, if the parents need it. And the end result is that our clients make more progress and more connections in less time. And it's really inspiring for us to watch. So that's who we are. And I'm proud of the impact that Ilana and I have on the lives of autistic and neurodivergent adults and their families. And our promise to you tonight is that by the end of this training, you will have a simple and effective 5-step roadmap that can empower your son or your daughter to meet more people with more confidence and do it faster than I think anyone thought possible. But for so many of your young adults right now, socializing is a struggle. Meeting new people, bringing new people into their life, keeping them there, it's overwhelming. And the reason why is because it can feel like each part of the social process is its own riddle that they need to solve. And so just, take a second and look at the list and just ask yourself, how many of the things on this list describe what my son or daughter is feeling? They're nervous. They get anxious. They get frustrated. And as I said, it's because every part of the social process feels like a riddle, which is anxiety provoking and exhausting. Dr. David Caudell of the Vanderbilt Autism Center was a guest speaker at our weekly community call. And he said something that I think, may really resonate with you. He said, people on the spectrum are sick and tired of poorly imitating what other people do so easily. And Ilana and I think that is equally true for a lot of neurodivergent people, even ones who aren't autistic. But we would even take that a step further, because what we hear from so many, of your young adults peers is that they feel like they have tried everything and everything has failed. And I think a lot of parents feel that way too, which is why Ilana and I have dedicated our careers to making sure that your son or your daughter doesn't fail. We have dedicated our careers to helping wonderful people like them live their purpose and bring their light and their love to other people. And that's why the 5 steps that we're talking about today are so important. The 5 steps are designed to cut through the massive amount of advice that's out there, because it's overwhelming. Between the books and the websites and the YouTube videos and the blogs, there is so much advice out there. And some of that advice is good. Some of it's horrible. A lot of it is contradictory. And all of that makes it impossible for you and for your son or your daughter to know what to do. That mountain of evidence is paralyzing. So we're giving you a simpler approach, and we call it the 5 steps. And it'll help your son or daughter have more control over who they're bringing into their life, how they're building a deeper connection with those people, and the confidence that they feel when they're doing it, because that's important. And you'll start to see why everything your family has tried before hasn't really created the friendships and the relationships and the social life that you want so badly for your son or your daughter, and that they want for themselves. But when you help your young adult take the 5 steps, they will have a clear strategy that can empower them to have deeper conversations and smoother social interactions. And they'll start to feel like a more confident and courageous version of themselves. We like to say that this is a roadmap to social success by neurodivergent people for neurodivergent people. And I say that because I've been coaching autistic and neurodivergent people for over 13 years now. And what's happened over time is that I started to realize that there was a really, really big difference where a small group of neurodiverse adults were living exciting social lives and they were dating, and some of them were even getting married, but most other people just continued to struggle. So I began learning from that small group of socially successful people and understanding what they were doing. And then I compared that to what all the other lonely people were doing. And what I found is the foundation of what we're talking about like here tonight, right? There are 5 things that socially successful autistic and neurodivergent people were doing that everyone else wasn't. And I started calling them the 5 steps, and I began building those 5 steps into a complete strategy that I give my clients. And what happened has been really nothing short of amazing. Our clients start to make friends faster. Some of them start dating and finding love. Some of my clients have even gotten engaged and married. And so Ilana and I have really an immense amount of gratitude to PHP for inviting us here, because we want to see your sons and your daughters live their best social lives. So let's start with the first step. The first step is to help your son or daughter set their sights on social success. And that's a tongue-twisting way of saying that it's important to help them understand what they want their social life to look like and who they want to be in it. One of the most important questions that Ilana and I ask in every strategy session, and I usually leave it to Ilana to ask it, what do you want your friendships and relationships to be like? And the answers that we usually get are usually kind of short, like, I want someone nice. I want someone who will appreciate me. I want someone to do things with. And obviously those are real desires, but they're pretty vague. And it's because most people don't have clarity about who they want in their life and what they want their life to look like. And that's a problem, because how do you help your son or daughter plan for bringing the right people into their life when they don't even know who they're looking for? Your young adult gets caught in a chicken or the egg situation, or a catch-22. They don't have a goal, so they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan, so they can't achieve their goal. And around that problem goes. And what we know to be true is that the only way to achieve a goal in life, anything in life, is by having a clear vision of what that goal is. And the reason why is because knowing what you want allows us to reverse engineer the right strategy for making it happen. And that's why the first step is to help your son or daughter really think through, like, what do they want their social life to look like and who do they want in it? Because then we can get started and we can work smarter and not harder. Since so many of our clients in our program are movie buffs, one of the ways that we help them get clarity is by helping them make a movie in their mind that they can watch over and over again in their head, where they are being social and they're succeeding at it. That way, when they are actually in social places, they already know what success looks like and feels like for them, because not only have they watched that movie before, they wrote it, they produced it, they starred in it, right? So let's get really concrete here. To get you started, help your son or your daughter start thinking about who is in the movie with them, where are they going together, what are they doing together, what are the conversations that they're having together. And when it comes to the conversation part, this is where you want to be really specific. So what are the questions that your son or daughter is asking? What answers are they getting back? How's your son or daughter responding to, replying to those answers? And this is a biggie, okay? What does winning look like and feel like for your son or daughter? Okay, what does it feel like? And really help them go deep, because the more vivid the movie, the easier it is for us to make it reality. So that's the first step, helping them setting their sights on social success. The second step is finding those people, okay? We call it finding your tribe. And it's all about helping your son or daughter spend more time where the right people are getting together. So when Ilana and I do strategy sessions, the big question that we always start with, and again, Ilana asks it, what is not working in your social life right now? And almost everyone that we meet shares the same frustration. They tell us that they don't know where to go to find people who they'll enjoy. And something that's really interesting, I don't know how many of the folks listening here have sons or daughters that are in school or college or whatever. The fact that they're in school and have fellow classmates everywhere oftentimes doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. And so long story short, not knowing where to find people is a big problem when they're trying to have a social life. When you don't know where to go to find the right people, I think you see firsthand what happens, right? They mostly hang out with you. Maybe they hang out with a brother or a sister or a cousin. They spend a lot of time alone in their room, which usually means that they play a lot of video games, or they spend a lot of time staring at their phone, watching the latest, YouTube videos or TikTok or whatever is popular now. And none of those things is moving your son or daughter closer to their purpose. When they are alone in their room or they're staring at their phone, it means that they are not in the places where their future friends are hanging out, which means that they are giving themselves no chance at the life that they want and that you want for them. What you really want is for your son or daughter to have a true friend, maybe a true partner one day. And that means that you should help them look for people who have three essential qualities. Quality number one, common interest. A true friend or partner shares at least one of your son's or daughter's hobbies or passions, whether that's art or anime or comics or music or cosplay or, even video games. Don't shoot me. Quality number two, mutual acceptance. They accept your son or your daughter for who they are, and they allow your son or your daughter to be their authentic self and vice versa. And quality number three, equal effort. They are committed to building the relationship and putting as much work into that relationship as your son or daughter does. And if you ask, Ilana and me, there is nothing in the world quite like. Oh, we got to mute somebody. Yeah, there's nothing in the world quite like having people in your life who are true friends. And it starts with your son or daughter spending time in the places where the right people are getting together. And so that's why the first step is all about helping them find their tribe. A big part of the reason why Ilana and I are so excited that PHP invited us here is because I think from, that you all are firm believers in helping parents help their young adults with meeting each other in real life, doing real activities. And obviously so are we. But, I will be the first person to admit that I thought the internet would be the solution to loneliness for people with autism and neurodiversity and other special needs. Why? Because there are 5 billion people on the internet, and that seemed pretty awesome. And you don't need to be thinking about body language when you're chatting on the internet, and that seemed pretty awesome. And you have time to think about the questions that you're asking and the answers that you're giving, and that also seems pretty awesome. And so for all of those reasons, I was in a very large crowd of people who thought the internet was exactly what neurodivergent people needed to solve their loneliness problem. And now I am part of a very large crowd of people who are very disappointed, because in reality, the internet has actually made loneliness worse for many people who already felt marginalized and frustrated to begin with. Many neurodivergent people waste countless hours messaging strangers on dating sites only to get ignored, or maybe your son or daughter messages with people through a gaming portal or a social media app, but they always log off feeling like something's missing, because there is. Right? Chatting with strangers on the internet is not the same thing as having a real friendship. And even worse, those people on the internet may be out to defraud or exploit your young adult. As someone who spent 7 years as a criminal prosecutor in New York City, and there's my plaque right behind me, I can tell you that one of the biggest factors in online scams is loneliness. Lonely people want to believe that the attention they're receiving is real, which is why they fall for fraudsters at alarming rates. And the internet is a really easy place for fraudsters to find new victims. But scams aside, autistic and neurodivergent people have shared with us over and over again that trying to find people online is actually twice as hard as meeting them in person. And there are actually 2 reasons for that. Number one, the internet is full of hidden rules. Look at the list on the screen, right? There are hidden rules for everything. Writing your profile, choosing your photos, deciding who to message, what to say, how often. Then you have to ask them to hang out or meet up with you or go on a date. And there are hidden rules for that too. It's pretty daunting. And those hidden rules are just the tip of the iceberg. So that's one problem. And the second problem is that even if your son or daughter manages to master all the hidden rules of the internet, they still need the in-person social skills to win that person over in real life. And now think about that for a moment. Your son or daughter can spend years learning how to interact with people online, but once they master it, the only thing that gets them is a phone call, maybe one hangout, maybe one date. That's it. And once they get together in person, your son or daughter still needs the conversation skills and the body language skills and the social cues to spark a connection. So in reality, what's happening is that the internet actually doubles the number of social skills that your son or daughter needs to master, which means double the work, double the frustration, double the time, maybe more. And when you have spent a lifetime struggling, that is not what your son or daughter wants. So the bottom line is the most socially successful neurodivergent people aren't sitting at home. They're not hanging out in bars for the most part, and they certainly aren't spending all their time on the internet. What makes them successful is that they are focused on finding their tribe and becoming part of that tribe and getting to know people in that tribe. And my suggestion to you is help them do the same, okay? Help them find the places where people are doing things in your area or in their area that they find fun and exciting, because what's become crystal clear to Ilana and me is that nothing good happens when you're spending your time in the wrong places, or worse, spending your feeling lonely at home. But when your son or daughter finds their tribe, then they'll have more fun and they'll be more relaxed and they'll be a more confident version of themselves. And that's, as I said before, that's magnetic. So that's the second step, helping them find their tribe. The third step is about way more than friendship and dating. Building your mental library is a tool that can help your son or daughter in all aspects of their life, whether it's a college interview or a job interview or a family gathering or meeting with a teacher or a boss, because it's all about being prepared ahead of time with interesting things to talk about and interesting questions to ask so that they can have better conversations that can create that spark and create that connection. And that's so important because once your son or daughter knows who they want in their life and where to go to find those people, then they need to know how to win those people over. So that's the third step. And most people who come to us for a strategy session tell us that sparking that connection has been a lifelong battle for them. They go into social situations and they don't know what they're going to say, and they don't know what they're going to ask, and they don't know what they're going to do in the conversation. So either they keep to themselves, which we call being alone within a crowd, or they start a conversation, but it goes badly. And it isn't your son or daughter's fault, and it isn't your fault, certainly. Most people don't know what guidance to give a neurodivergent adult who wants to be more social. So they suggest things like, say hi, introduce yourself, just start talking to people, be yourself, right? And it's all meant well, but in reality, it doesn't work for neurodivergent adults. Frankly, it doesn't work for typically able people either, because, if I were to walk up to you and say, hi, I'm Jeremy, what's your name? You would probably think that's weird. And you'd be right, because that's just not how adults meet each other. So what's happening is that your young adult is trying to succeed in the social world, but they're trying to do it without a solid social plan. And as my mentor always says, when you fail to have a plan, you are planning to fail. And that's what's happening to so many of your sons and daughters. They have a strong desire for friendship. They have a strong desire maybe to be dating, but they don't have a solid plan for how to get out there. And that leads to one rejection after another, which feels awful for them. And frankly, it feels terrible for you as a parent. Your son or your daughter is trying their best, but what usually happens is that they get nervous and anxious, and then they start tripping over their words and getting tongue-tied because their mind is racing. And sometimes their mind goes blank entirely. And then the conversation falls apart because it has no flow and it just feels uncomfortable. And, in the end, your son or daughter gives up, or the other person walks away because, there's no spark there and there's no connection. So your young adult goes home alone again, no new friend, no phone number, nothing to show for their effort except more frustration. And frustration is a terrible feeling. It's an awful feeling. Your son or daughter wants to win, okay? And a big part of winning is having a genuine conversation that creates a real connection. And your son or daughter is absolutely capable of it. And we say that because conversations follow patterns, and neurodivergent people tend to be very good with patterns. So let's use that to their advantage. And, to get concrete, it starts by thinking about conversations as nothing more than a combination of 5 basic building blocks. Number 1, the questions that people ask to keep the conversation flowing. Number 2, the answers that people give. Number 3, the reactions that people have to those answers. Number 4, the stories that people tell to make the conversation more entertaining. And number 5, the next steps they decide on, like when they're going to call each other, when they're going to text each other, when they're going to get together to hang out. And that's really it. Almost every conversation is just those 5 building blocks mixed and matched in some way. And once your young adult starts looking for those 5 building blocks in conversations, they're also going to start noticing patterns in the way that those elements are combined too, which is exactly what socially successful autistic and neurodivergent people do. They realize that conversations follow patterns, and so they're prepared for it. And the way they prepare for it is by having a mental library for each element of the conversation. So they have an effective conversation starter to break the ice. They prepare deep questions that keep the conversation going in a way that really provokes thought. One of the things I love about neurodivergent people is that they hate small talk. I'm so grateful for that. But they've also prepared interesting answers that are intriguing to the other person, because short answers, yes or no answers, one-word answers, those are conversation killers. And they've also prepared stories about their lives, right? The things that they've done, the places they've been, the obstacles they've overcome, because stories are what we call sticky, right? Stories make a lasting impression. So our suggestion is that you help your son or daughter do the same thing. Help them build their mental library. And they're going to love what happens, because when they have a mental library of things to talk about, their minds won't go blank and their tongues won't get tied, at least not as often, right? And the conversation will start flowing more effortlessly. And that is magnetic. And that is when the winning really begins. Ilana and I have a really good friend named Stephen Rodriguez, who has had a profound impact on the way that we think about being a successful person with a different ability. Stephen is autistic. He's a business owner. He's a husband. He's a dad to at least one autistic teenager. And when he speaks at our weekly community calls as a guest, he says something that I think will resonate with you. He says that he can fool people for 5 or 10 minutes into thinking that he's just like them, but soon they get a sense that he's different. So Stephen builds his strengths into his self-disclosure. He says something like, just so you know, pretty soon you're going to start to think that I'm weird. So please understand that my brain is wired differently than yours, which means I'm probably not going to laugh at your jokes. I'm not going to understand your sarcasm. You're going to see my eyes shifting in every direction while I'm thinking about what you're saying. But let me tell you what I'm great at. I'm great at X, Y, and Z. And those strengths that Stephen has and that Stephen turns into superpowers are what allows him to navigate and really succeed in a world that often feels stacked against people who are neurodivergent and autistic. So your 4th step is to really do the same. Help your son or daughter find their superpowers. Those superpowers are there. But right now, the world is still stuck in what we call the old ways of thinking about autism and neurodivergence. There are still too many people in society who believe, it's a disease, and your son or daughter needs to hide who they truly are, and they need to apologize for how their brain works, and they need to mask their quirks, and they just need to act like everybody else. And that's devastating. The old ways of thinking about autism have been downright destructive. At the very least, the old ways of thinking about it has made people in the neurodiverse community feel like they're a problem that needs to be cured. And it makes them feel like they're broken and defective and invisible, and they feel like they don't belong. And it makes them feel unwanted and insignificant. And it's paralyzing. It's paralyzing when you feel lesser. And what's so heartbreaking is exactly the opposite is true. Autistic and neurodivergent is not lesser, it's just different. And differences are important, okay? Society is weaker when we are all homogenous. Society is stronger when we don't all think the same way. Differences can be superpowers. So my suggestion to you is help your son or daughter find their superpowers. And if you need help doing that, start by thinking about all the incredible light and love that they can bring to this world with their honesty and integrity and empathy and loyalty and commitment and creativity and inclusivity and tenacity, because those are all neurodivergent traits. That is what Ilana and I see in our clients every moment of every day. And what we know is that your young adult has gifts to give people in this world, but too often those gifts are just locked inside of them. So let's uncover their superpowers, because the world is a pretty darn scary place right now, and people desperately need their light and their love and their goodness. Your son and your daughter has peers who are already doing it. They have peers who are living the life that your young adult wants to live. And rather than reinvent the social wheel, which is what so many families do before they come to us, just do what the socially successful people do. Follow their strategy. Figure out who they want in their life and what they want their life to look like. That's step one. Set their sights on social success. Then help them spend their time in the places where, their future friends, maybe even their future partners, are spending their time. That's step two, finding their tribe. Then help them plan for the questions that they want to ask and the stories they want to tell and the answers they want to give, because a great conversation is the spark that starts a friendship and more. That's step three, building their mental library, and do all of that with more confidence and less anxiety because you help them find their superpowers. That's the fourth step. And so we want to finish off on the fifth step, which is really one that separates the people whose lives change quickly from everyone else who just continues to struggle, and it's having the right mentor. The right mentor is the secret weapon of your young adults peers who are living their best social lives. And I'm going to share with you something that I wish I had known when I, 20, 30 years ago, which is that everyone should have a mentor. It doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish in life. It's easier to accomplish anything in the world when you have a mentor. And when you think about it, there's a great mentor or a coach behind every achievement. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Bill Gates had Warren Buffett. Oprah Winfrey had Jeffrey Jacobs. The Beatles had George Martin. Luke Skywalker had Yoda. I have 5 mentors of my own, not counting my parents and not even counting Ilana. If you want to succeed at something, you have to have a mentor who knows how to make it happen, because trial and error is a recipe for failure. But the right mentor will give your son or your daughter exactly what they need to be successful, starting, of course, with a proven strategy, a social strategy that other autistic and neurodivergent adults, people like your son or daughter, have used so that you know it works. But here's the thing, right? Strategy alone isn't enough. I said this before. Strategy means nothing if you don't actually use it. So pick a mentor who will be there for your son or your daughter in those tough moments to inspire them and motivate them and build their confidence, because winning is a process. It takes time. And there are going to be moments along the way where your son or daughter is doubting themselves, but the right mentor will be there to boost them up when they need it most. And they will hold your son or daughter accountable, because humans have a natural tendency to slack off when nobody's looking. But the right mentor is going to keep them moving forward. And the right mentor is going to be there to troubleshoot and to help them solve the obstacles that are inevitably going to pop up along the way. And that's really important, because there are going to be times when things go wrong and you don't know why, and neither does your son or daughter. And at that moment, your son or your daughter is going to have 3 choices, and 3 choices only. They can quit. Okay, that's what a lot of people do. They quit. Or they can waste months or even years trying to figure out what the problem is and how to fix it. Or number 3, they can turn to their mentor who knows exactly what's going wrong and knows exactly how to fix the problem. Troubleshooting the problems that arise along the way is absolutely critical. And that's why nobody has ever transformed their life by reading a self-help book or by watching a series of YouTube videos. It feels good to watch books and videos. It feels like you're doing something. But when a question comes up or you're feeling stuck, there's nobody there to ask for help. But the right mentor is going to be there for your son or your daughter. And they're going to be there for you. They're going to be there for your family. But they're going to reconnect your son or daughter to their dream. They're going to remind them of their greatness. They're going to show them exactly what went wrong and show them exactly how to fix it. And will get them on the path to success quickly again. I went to one of my clients' weddings. His name is Douglas. I was actually in his wedding. I gave a blessing to him and his bride during the wedding ceremony under the marital canopy. And he came up to me afterwards at the wedding ceremony, and he said something that I will never forget. He said, when the odds are against you, you have to change the odds. And Douglas knew the odds, and the odds were grim. and he didn't want to live life alone, but everything else he had tried had failed. So he needed to change the odds, and that's why he sought out a mentor. And now he's married. He has a wonderful wife. They're happy together. I was invited to his birthday in New York City this past year. I wasn't able to make it, but he's living a different life, and he's never looked back. Ilana and I love serving the autism and the neurodivergent community because we love helping people win, helping your sons and your daughters live up to their potential and achieve their dream of friendship, and some of them even relationships. That's what gets us out of bed every morning, and it means the world to us. So we just want to take a moment to share with you what we can do to help. So Ilana and I are offering to speak to your family personally about how your son or your daughter can take these steps that we've been talking about today and start applying them to their social life right now. And the reason why we offer to do that is because whatever is keeping your son or daughter socially stuck, we've seen it. And we've helped our clients overcome it. And so Ilana and I will get on the phone with your family. We'll do a strategy session together. We'll spend 90 minutes, maybe even a little bit more, getting your family really just crystal clear on exactly what your son or daughter wants their friendships and relationships to be, and exactly what's been keeping them stuck. And then we're going to share with all of you, a roadmap for how to fix it. And your family will leave our strategy session feeling like there's a path forward and like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. What Ilana and I have found over the years is that since we are going to be working on one of the most important goals in your son or daughter's life, we need the most important people in their life to be a part of this strategy session. And that's why we do this strategy session with you, your co-parent or your spouse, and your young adult. It's 3 of you and it's 2 of us. Okay, of course, if there isn't a second parent or spouse in the picture, please let us know. We'll plan accordingly. But if there are, we look forward to meeting with all 3 of you, because having all 3 of your perspectives is how we make progress faster. And we also know that if you want to work together with us, it's going to be a family decision. And so it's incredibly important that we get together as a family. But the strategy session itself costs nothing. There's no charge. There's no catch. It is our gift to families who want to help their son or daughter enjoy a social life that's just more vibrant and more fulfilling. So, if your family is ready to take the next step, let's get together, let's schedule a strategy session, and let's start talking about the next chapter in your son or daughter's life. Our website is mybestsociallife.com/apply. I'll tell you that because Ilana and I are getting married in a week and a half, there are probably not a lot of strategy sessions that appear on that calendar. And so if you can find something that works for you, send us an email, jeremy@mybestsociallife.com, and just let us know that you want to get together, and we'll find a time that works for you. But we'll get together for 90 minutes. We'll understand what your son or daughter wants, where they're getting stuck, and we'll help them plot a new path forward. So thank you to Alyssa, thank you to Maria, thank you to PHP, thank you to the 50 plus of you who showed up here. And I'm going to turn it over for a Q&A. We'll do it how you want to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jeremy, for that rapid fire presentation.
I tried to get it in under 40 minutes.
It takes me back to my New York days. And thank you for slowing down in parts, but I know your passion and you just sped right up again.
Okay, next time we do this, I'll give myself an hour and I'll speak at half the speed.
There we
Take
go.
a breath in between words.
I got very excited.
All right. Well, thank you for that very generous offer. I have put the mybestsociallife.com/apply in the chat, so people can grab that if they'd like. I'm going to post those pesky evaluations, 3 questions only, in the chat. But before I do that, there are a few questions, and a few of them revolve around the same thing.
Great.
My son says he doesn't need friends. How do you motivate a young adult in their early 20s to explore socialization?
We love that question.
Yeah, regarding telling stories. Yeah, they're all regarding telling stories. They don't want to talk about themselves.
Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
We get the question about motivation and I don't want friends at every single presentation we do of this around the world. And what we tell parents is the same everywhere. Okay. There will always be a small percentage of autistic and neurodivergent young adults who really do want to be alone or want to be alone most of the time. But the truth is, what we see, it's only about 10%. The other 90% say that they want to be alone. But what they really mean by that is they're sick and tired of failing, and they don't see a path to being successful and making friends. And if you don't see a path to making friends, you're going to convince yourself that you don't want to do it, because it sucks to try and fail. It sucks to put yourself out there over and over and over again and be alone in a crowd and get rejected. Of course, you're going to tell yourself that you don't want friends, but what you really want is a path forward. And I'll tell you something, and Ilana, you can back me up on this. We have young adults who come onto the strategy sessions all the time, and their parents, usually it's the mom, says like, hey, they're not motivated, but they're willing to talk with you for a little bit. Okay, you know what? When they see a path forward and they feel like it's going to succeed, you have never seen someone more excited to get started in your life.
We frequently hear parents say, I haven't seen my child light up like this in a very long time. And that's really something. It means a lot.
But it's because there's a path forward. And if they don't see that path forward, there will be zero motivation. And by the way, that is not an autistic thing. It's not a neurodivergent thing. It is a human thing. None of us like to do things that we suck at. And if we don't have a manual for unsucking and getting good at it, none of us want to try something new and flunk at it. So it's just deeply human. I hope I spoke slower that time.
How about young adults who are not very verbal? How do you work with that community, if you do?
So Ilana and I don't work with young adults who are not very verbal, at least who are nonverbal. Not to say that they don't deserve to have services, they absolutely do. And there are paths forward. In fact, I actually was talking with someone from the TACA organization here in California. I need to remember who it was from TACA. Her son is nonverbal and now has a friendship group of other people who are nonverbal. And they're all happy, like super happy. It's totally doable. If you ask me, like, what do I think? I think that one avenue is to start by finding friends online. I'm not a huge fan of the internet, but there are strategies for going out into the world and finding, maybe it's other communities of people who are nonverbal, or maybe it's communities of people who share your interest, and that's a big community. And then you can narrow it down to either people who are nonverbal or are totally cool with the fact that you're nonverbal. But there are definitely paths forward for someone who's nonverbal. It is not hopeless by any means. And the fact that, we have a colleague just down the road whose son is nonverbal and living his best life, and she's been able to help him with that, says everything that I think needs to be said.
Okay. Someone else would like to know advice about how his or her autistic son can find a mentor. How would he look?
Depends on what you need, right? So this is really important. This is a very important point. There is no such thing as a general mentor. Okay, we had a client who came in to our program and he was like, "Oh, I have a dating mentor." Okay, who's your dating mentor? It's my film coach. No, it's not. Your film coach is your film mentor, right? Your cooking coach is your cooking mentor. Your dating coach is your dating mentor, right? You have to find someone who knows how to do what you are trying to do. Whether it's playing basketball, whether it's dating and making friends, whether it's cooking, whether it's finding a job, you need to find somebody who has a strategy that's worked for other people, who has the energy, the enthusiasm to motivate your son or daughter when they start flagging, who will be there to troubleshoot and who'll hold them accountable. That's what a mentor does. And different mentors can be found in different places, right? If your son or daughter wants to, well, we're all in California, right? If your son or daughter wants to be a computer coder, right? You're probably going to go find a mentor at a computer coding association or trade group, right? Because you need a computer coder. I'm not going to be your son or daughter's computer coding mentor. If you hire me to be your son or daughter's computer computer coding mentor, that's a really bad choice on all of our parts. So really important, match the mentor to the skill or goal they're trying to achieve.
Okay. Back to the motivation. My son needs to socialize more, strategies to motivate him to become more social, to talk about themselves more when they're in these kind of social situations. And I know you kind of touched on that, but people keep asking, so it's obviously.
So number one is your son or daughter needs to have a complete strategy that they know when they go into the social world, they just need to execute the strategy and they have a fighting chance at meeting people and bringing them into the world, right? If we go out into the world to accomplish something and we feel like we are winging it, we don't show up as our most confident selves, and other people know that. And frankly, we just hang out in the corner, right? No strategy, no effort. Part of that, if I'm understanding the question, is having a mental library of questions and answers and stories and reactions. Because lots of autistic people, lots of neurodivergent people will have no problem going up to you and being like, "Hi, I'm Jeremy. What's your name?" And they'll be like, "I'm Ilana." Okay.
Conversation over.
Conversation over. You need a mental library of questions to rely on and answers to give and reactions to have and stories so that you feel as part of your strategy, as part of your plan, like you know what you can do and say, because winging it works for nobody.
So I'm assuming you're saying regarding telling stories or talking about themselves, that's part of this mental library you're talking
Absolutely.
about. That is maybe rehearsing, rehearsing a story about yourself with a trusted friend or a mentor, right?
Absolutely.
Or stand in front of the mirror.
Stand in front of the mirror. That's what our clients do. Yep.
Yeah, get your microphone out. Okay. Talked about the mentor. Let me see. How about a son who's never had a relationship, 19 years old, says is bisexual, but his situation causes him a lot of anxiety and sadness? Do you find this normal with young autistic people who use?
Yeah. One of our favorite clients ever is a young man who is still trying to figure out his sexuality and his sexual identity. And it causes a whole lot of confusion. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't stop him from creating community and being parts of community. This young man who we're talking about, who we love dearly, in spite of the anxiety, in spite of the confusion that he's still working through, he has become a leader, bringing other people in the Social Life 360 program together, and he has become the fabric of other tribes. And you don't need to be sure of who you are as a person, especially at 19. Most of us aren't sure who we are as people at 19, but it doesn't stop you from being part of the fabric of a community. Okay. And it certainly doesn't stop you from finding other people who are on a similar journey as you are. Because it's nice to take that journey with other people who understand what you're going through. And you know what? There are lots of them.
A couple of kind of housekeeping questions. How old do you have to be to sign up for one of the sessions you were just giving?
Yeah. So generally speaking, the people that we work with are 18 and over. We have allowed 2 twice exceptional 16-year-olds into the program, but by and large, there are plenty of services for people who are, up to 18, and then you fall off the cliff. And that cliff is really scary, right? You turn 18 and now you're going out into the real world, and there's really nobody there to continue teaching you the skills that you need to interview and land a job and get along with your colleagues and to find a tribe and make friends and start dating. So we really like to start at 18, where people have some level of maturity. Our oldest client is, I think, over 70, and our average is 20s, 30s, early 40s.
Wow. Okay. So 15 to 12 to 15 would be a little young.
Yeah, we stick to our lane. We know what we're good at, and the 18, 17 plus community is the lane that we stick to.
Okay. Know what you're good at. Where are you located? Do you offer in person or only online coaching?
So the entirety of Social Life 360 is online, with the caveat that we have really nice bases of clients in SoCal and NorCal. So our clients in the Bay Area, for example, go to events together. Some of our clients in Southern California go to events together. Ilana and I are hosting a barbecue for our Southern California clients on June 24th, so we can all get together in real life. We did that for our New York City clients about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So, we have the nicest, kindest, most inclusive young adults and families in our program. And so they do support each other. They do go to things with each other. But the learning is online, and there's a reason for it. It's because we want our clients to be able to learn at their own speed and to be able to learn what we're teaching them when they want and as many times as they want. So we do a lot of learning by online training modules so that we can provide those diagrams and those formulas and those schematics and those step-by-step processes. And they can stop it and start it and stop it and start it and watch it over and over again so that they can really absorb it and then go out into the world and understand the world and then participate in it.
And then they can ask us questions, and really we can work on the nuances of the social skills that they're learning.
Okay. You're going to love this one. Do you do any matchmaking among your clients?
Okay. The official answer is no. We don't matchmake amongst our clients. That is a no-no. And the reason why is because when someone joins the Socialize 360 program, they are part of our online community for life. It is a place where all of our clients come and they talk about whatever they want and they feel safe talking about whatever they want. And we do not want any of our clients feeling like they are being pressured into something that they don't want to be pressured into. And so there's no dating amongst our clients, although our clients hang out with each other in real life. But Ilana and I do a lot of work with the matchmaking community. One of our favorite clients in Oakland has a matchmaker and just went on his 16th or 17th date with his girlfriend.
And going away together for a weekend.
And they're going away together for a weekend coming up. And so, some of our clients use matchmakers. We can help them connect with matchmakers. I will tell you that Ilana and I do get opportunities that come our way. Hey, I'm a matchmaker. I have so-and-so in this location. Do you have someone for me? We will do that. We do it kind of unofficially, but we work with the matchmaking community. We ourselves do not do matchmaking.
Okay. And then it's interesting you spoke about the dad who comes and speaks at some of your
Stephen Rodriguez
sessions. Yeah.
One of my favorite guys.
So this is more of a comment, and I don't know if you just want to speak to it. I want to help my son and daughter, but I'm autistic myself, only diagnosed a couple of years ago. I think I'm worse at this than he is, than the son. So I don't know how to help him much other than to help him find his tribe. But after that, he does a better job than I do. Do you hear that?
I do. And I'm going to say something that I think is really beautiful, and that's going to make this person really happy. We do not just put a young adult through Socialize 360. Their parents, their family, and sometimes even their mental health team are invited to be a part of the process. And one of the things that we'll hear over and over and over from parents is that sometimes they get as much out of the program as their kid does. Because we are not teaching autism skills. We are teaching human skills in a way that is mathematical and analytical so that the autistic brain can absorb. So these are skills for anybody. And our moms and dads and sometimes family members will tell us that it's changed their relationships. We had one couple who said it changed their marriage because these are human skills. And so
they learned how to communicate with each other through going through the program with their nephew. It was really incredible. We were all crying on the call.
We do a lot of crying. We do a lot of crying.
It was really beautiful.
I know it might seem like I'm asking this again, but if you can focus in on what if the young adult says, I don't like to talk about myself?
Where?
What do they like to talk about?
Ever.
Those are two good questions. I don't like to talk myself where and what I like to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe
I think
we'll get a little more answer here.
I think what's really important is finding finding your tribe within a community of people that share a common interest. So then it's not necessarily, you don't feel the pressure to talk about yourself. You could talk about the thing that you're doing or what you're really passionate about. So that's one way to move away from the me-centered conversation. And everybody has passions, whether it's video games or anime or whatever it is. Most people want to talk about, especially people on the spectrum, they love talking about what they want to talk about. So finding somebody else that shares that passion is going to be really helpful.
That's an amazing answer. And I'm going to stack up on that to say that a lot of times people don't like to talk about themselves because they don't know what to say. Right? We feel like if we talk about ourselves and it comes out badly, we're going to look worse than we already look.
Or haven't had a lot of experiences to share. So building those experiences and having more things to tell about.
And then all of that goes into the mental library, right? That's why the mental library is such a focus of the work that we do in our program and outside of our program, because when you know what you want to say and you've thought it out ahead of time and you feel confident in it, you're less reluctant to talk about yourself or whatever it is that you talk about. But if you don't know what you're going to say, you're probably going to get tongue-tied, you're probably going to be self-conscious, and you're probably going to end up just avoiding talking altogether.
Okay, a question about dating apps. Somebody's agreeing that they can be brutal, but what do you think about all the dating apps that are specifically designed or say they're specifically designed for the neurodiverse individuals?
Okay, I've got to be very careful here because I don't want to malign anybody. I tried to build a dating app with two business partners. We spent, I can't even tell you how many figures of money trying to build a dating app for autistic and neurodivergent individuals. A couple of problems that we've seen. Number one, it just doesn't work for the way the neurodivergent brain is designed, right? There are just too many hidden rules, okay? That's a problem. We tried to figure out how to design around that, but the cost of fixing the problems inherent in existing dating apps is between $500,000 and $1 million. If you have $1 million, I have the schematic diagrams for how to build a proper dating site for people who are autistic, but it's going to take about $1 million or more because you have to solve all those communications pain points that are inherent in the existing dating sites. That's one problem. The second problem, last time I looked, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked in a while. Last time I looked, right, the number of men to women who are autistic is about 4 to 1. And the number of men to women who are single and autistic is like 10 or 20 to 1. And that's because, on the whole, women are better at masking. Maybe other reasons why too. But men flock to these dating sites at vastly larger numbers than women do. Maybe it's been solved in the meantime. I don't think so, though. Right? Last I checked, I went on a dating site. I won't say which one it is. It's for people with autism. I couldn't find a woman on that site to save my life.
And I would just add, going back to the safety piece, that because scammers, fraudsters know that it's a vulnerable community, from what we know, there are more scammers and people trying to take advantage of vulnerable populations on those sites.
Yeah.
So it's just something to be aware of.
I don't want to malign anybody or an entire industry. We've had clients on autism dating sites, on regular dating sites. We have had people come to us who have lost tens of thousands of dollars. Our clients, prior to coming to us, have cumulatively lost over $100,000 to scammers that they met online. We had one client in our program who came to our weekly community call, and he was so excited. What are you celebrating? Oh, this woman reached out to me, and we've been chatting online, and like now she wants me to send her a plane ticket so I can come visit.
Because she's in the Army and she wants to come visit me, one of those.
And what we do with all of our clients is when there's a red flag, we go online with our clients, we read the text messages with our clients, and we make our most educated guess about whether or not this is real or not. And sadly, for that client of ours, it was a scammer, and thank God we caught that before he got scammed out of sending money, because that client was going to go to the bank and take out money. And we nipped that in the bud, thankfully.
All right. Do you have any words of wisdom to close us out? We're actually going to make it to 7:45, I think, maybe even before. We have no more open questions. So what can you wrap us up with there?
I'll wrap it up with this. I've probably done 900 strategy sessions in my life. There is nothing better than sitting down, the three of you, the two of us, really understanding what is your son or daughter's social goals? Where are they getting stuck? Because the answer is not autism or neurodivergence. There's something about how their brain is wired that's causing them to get stuck. And by the end of the 90 minutes, you will have some incredible clarity on what's going wrong and what you need to get right. We don't promise that we'll work with you at the end of the 90 minutes. If you're the right fit for us, great. If we're the right fit for you, great. If not, we may even try to introduce you to a better resource. But, it's the best use of 90 minutes. We don't charge for it. It's certainly how we find people who are right for the program. It's certainly how we help the people that we know in the autism world find people who are right for them. And we would love to get together with you and your family. So reach out to us and we'll make it happen.
Well, thanks again for that generous offer. And your website has your email addresses as well.
Our website has a way to contact us, but we check our email 500 times a day. So Jeremy at mybestsociallife.com. It's basically like wired into my veins. So that's the easiest way to get to us.
All right, wonderful. Lots of hearts, lots of thumbs up, lots of clapping hands.
Thank you, everybody.
I thank you so much, Ilana and Jeremy. Thank you so much. Thank you to Tiffany, Cayenne, and to Beatrice. I know that this was probably a difficult one, but you kept up. We're very, very grateful for you.
Sorry.
All right, and so thanks again for your generous offer, and thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight, and tune in the fall. Okay, take care.